Hey everyone. So I'm just going to show you some of the stuff that you can buy on a carnivore diet that's a little bit more for a lot of people's budget. For sure, expensive cuts of meat, ribeyes are great. They're fattier cuts of meat, but sometimes they can get expensive. These prices that I'm going to show you here are Canadian prices, so they're not American prices. So everything here that I'm showing you is actually pretty good for prices. And as you can see, on special, sometimes you can get great prices. So just keep your eye out and load up when you see the good prices. So yeah, I was eating like ribeyes, but in Canada, the ribeyes cost anywhere from the best price that I would get would be like $8. Sometimes they were like 16 bucks, 12 bucks. So for me, I can't just afford always eating ribeye steaks, which are a great cut of meat for the carnivore diet because they're a fattier cut, and you don't want to be on a carnivore diet where it's like very lean and you're not getting a lot of your fats. So pork chops, at least in Canada, tend to be a lot cheaper than red meat. So you can get a lot of your protein, and the fat is like really good to eat on the pork chops. Mind you that the pork is usually a 14 to 1 ratio, omega 6 to omega 3. So it is a higher omega 3 fat kind of meat, but you do need omega 6 as well as omega 3. We run into issues with high omega 6 when we're eating processed stuff or going heavy on canola oil, or if we're using margarine and not realizing we should be using butter. Margarine's a big no-no. So yeah, so if you're looking to budget it, money's a little bit tight. Pork chops are often a great way of getting the protein and fat, and it's a good cheap price. Here, this is a really good price. I mean, think of it, a ribeye steak is $12, like I was saying, but this whole family pack of meat is $12. That's going for 1.9 kilograms. So that's a great price. This one's actually a little bit pricier, but I've been finding these salmon steaks for around $6 very often. They're cheaper, and they actually have like the bone in the middle. You got to watch out for the shards for the bones. But if you're careful, I find that the salmon's pretty expensive in Canada, and this is a pretty good price for the money to the amount of kilograms that you can get. Um, if you're on a budget, just go after the round steak, tenderized steak, sometimes the French cut, the round cut. You don't always have to be going for, the nice expensive fattier cuts of meat. Some people just can't afford it, or at different times you can't afford it. Since I'm going with leaner cuts of meat, what I'm doing here is I'm buying rendered duck fat. So this is another way of getting a great fat into your diet. It's also very stable to cook with, much more stable than even butter. This is the kind of fat that they even say that you can reuse. I don't reuse it. I often just put it on eggs and various amount of meats. I'll put a bit of the butter, and then I'll put a bit of this and mix it together. So I'm kind of getting a bit of different kinds of fat. If you can't afford the expensive cheeses, look, it's better than nothing. Just go for, the great value, cheaper amounts. Some people in the carnivore diet, when they're starting out, they want to eliminate the dairy to see if they have any issues with dairy. But if dairy is not an issue, then yeah, this is a great source. If not, more expensive kinds of cheeses. St. Albert cheese is a local area that makes cheese from 100% cow's milk. So, and it's non-pasteurized. What else? Yeah, don't go overboard on canned tuna fish, but it's another great source of animal food for you to add. What I do is I get the only organ meat at the moment that I can figure out how to stomach is cod liver. So the cod liver in the can, I'll mix with the tuna fish, and the amount of omega 6 the amount of omega 3. Is really high. For half a can, you see we're getting 9 grams, so like 18 grams just in this can. So make that maybe twice a week. Get some cod liver into you, along with the salmon, which is higher in omega-3. So you're going to have a nice balance of omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. Always look, we're always ideally in an ideal world, you're going to want to try and get the best quality meats. But I'm on Sean Baker's side, a prominent carnivore advocate. Look, don't become a carnivore snob. It's much better to buy what is affordable for you. And yes, if you can get better quality grass-fed, high quality cheeses, for example, then yeah, that's better. But don't let, if you can't afford the more expensive and lucrative high quality animal foods, you're going to do great if you change from your standard diet to a carnivore diet using the cheaper cuts. Since these tend to be leaner meats here, that's why I get the higher fat ratios with the duck fat, with the butter, and also going after fatty fishes. This is like loaded with fat, also, high omega-3. So that's great too. I try and get the best quality eggs. But again, if you're broke, then, you can get for great prices, just the standard eggs. And that's pretty much this would be a staple of what I'd be going through during the week if I'm on a budget. What I'll usually do here is I'll make meat patties. What I'll do is I'll just put this in a bowl and I'll grate some of the cheeses and I'll just mix it in and just make my patties. Have as many patties as my hunger desires, and I also go after don't go after the lean ground beef. Go after the fattiest ground beef that you can find. So this is what I do on a carnivore diet if my budget is a bit tight, and I hope this helps, guys. Thanks a lot.